I'm a reluctant reader, like a girl afraid of love. Once I do decide to let my passions run, I run and run and run. Growing up, my dad would often demand that I clean my room, a tedious task for any 12-year-old girl. Upon clearing out the clutter, I came across a small, forgotten novel entitled Mick Hart Was Here. An hour and a half later, I still laid on my beanbag chair, sobbing with Phoebe, Mick's sister, as she mourned the death of her big brother. Evidently, I don't hold books. They hold me. Due to these uncontrollable bouts of reading, I seldom pick up books anymore. At least, not the way I used to. As children, my parents took us to the library frequently. There were 5 of us, 7 if you count my parents. For fun, we took nightly walks to our neighborhood 7-Eleven, rented movies on Friday nights, and visited the library. All adventures in themselves. It wasn't until I grew up that I realized that we probably didn't have much money, but I never noticed. The library felt much like a candy store, with brightly wrapped treats and an intoxicating aroma, the sweet smell of books. Upon each visit, I'd pick a few. I solved mystery upon mystery with Nancy Drew. I grew up with Alice, an adolescent girl who lived in Tacoma, Maryland. I blushed at her discoveries, ached for her broken family, just as mine had become, and soaked in her wisdom of adolescence. I also became friends with Georgia Nicholson, a hilariously flawed British girl in Angus thongs and full frontal snogging, who often fell into love in embarrassing situations. These girly series ushered me into adolescence. In middle school, my life began to resemble the girls I read about in each novel. Though I did not snoop around finding mysteries with my best friends Bess and George, I sought out to master the mystery of boys, like Alice and Georgia. My experiences did not seem as funny as theirs, nor did my ends tie up so nicely. Soon, I was a mess. I fought with my parents, snuck out of my house, kissed too many boys, and spouted out a colorful vocabulary of words I had never read in any book. My rebellion turned into depression, but in 8th grade, by the grace of God, my depression turned to joy. I heard the gospel and believed it for the first time. Jesus Christ, the Son of God, died for me on a cross, paying the price for my sin and reconciling me to God. Though I had heard the same story a million times before, this time I actually believed it. My life began to change as a result of my changed heart. Soon, I fell into another unhealthy relationship with a guy named Chris. Nothing good came out of that relationship, except for a book that he gave me for my birthday, Rachel's Tears. It changed my life. The book followed the journal entries of Rachel Joy Scott, a martyr at Columbine. When the shooters asked the young high schooler if she was a Christian, she said yes, and they shot her. Her journal entries were honest, and her faith was strangely strong. I had found a new friend in Rachel. I would spend the next few years of my life trying to emulate her. I began keeping a prayer journal too. My relationship with Christ changed dramatically. I would begin to know God intimately, devoting my life to the God I grew to love. I turned 22 last summer, quite reluctantly, I might add. My good friend Brittany presented me with a small, neatly wrapped, rectangular-shaped gift. Great, I thought, a book. Though I, engulfed in materialism, had desired a pretty thing or a useless trinket, this book would prove much more costly. It was Radical by David Platt, a book that, ironically, addressed the dangers of American materialism. The book's cover read, Radical, Taking Back Your Faith from the American Dream. Over the next few weeks, my heart would be transformed by David Platt's experiences, worshiping secretly amongst the persecuted church overseas, and his faith in a living and active God. I began reevaluating my life. Do I really believe what I say I believe? Would I really give up everything I have to follow Christ? Platt's persuasion was not based on behavior modification. It was no self-help book. Rather, it was a call to the hearts of lukewarm Christians like me. It only echoed what Christ had said nearly 2,000 years ago. Then he said to them all, "If anyone would come after me, he must deny himself and take up his cross daily and follow me. For whoever wants to save his life will lose it, but whoever loses his life for me will save it." This last book has had a deep and profound effect on my life. It is my best friend, my oldest companion, my coffee date. I carry it everywhere. It has been the source of my wisdom, understanding, peace, conviction, prayers, and deepest knowledge. I have duct taped it, spilled coffee on it, written all over it, and left my tears in it. It is my Bible. Just like any old friend, our relationship has grown sweeter and deeper throughout time. Though sometimes I fight with it, don't understand it, and neglect it, it is the dearest word to my heart, the Word of God. As a child, I recall waking up early in the morning to catch my dad sitting at the dining room table, coffee in hand and Bible wide open. I spent my whole life in Sunday school, sometimes reluctantly, soaking in stories about God sending the flood, shutting the mouths of lions, and sending Christ to die for me on the cross. Though I had learned these accounts of miracles and God's grace, I didn't begin to treasure time in the Word until my senior year of high school. This book, which I had often found difficult, dull, and dry, came alive as I sought to know God for the first time in my life. Now, I can't imagine living without it, my daily bread. Without it, I'd starve.